Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for today's webinar. As some of you know, Odoo likes to organize interesting topics that we think you as partner will find interesting. Today's topic will be dedicated to B2B marketing, focusing on some tips on how to get some visibility, help you engage more effectively with your potential customers, and get you some tips on how to make qualification much easier than you're doing it today anyway. Well, some of you might already know me since I am their account manager. So hello Spain, hello Zimbabwe. For the rest of you that don't know me, my name is Alondra. It's a pleasure to welcome you today. Well, so before we start, I suggest that we go and get a nice cup of coffee since we have about 150 slides to go over during this 6-hour marketing marathon. Woohoo! Of course, I'm just kidding. As you know, today is April Fool's Day, so I couldn't resist making a little joke. So that was my joke. Seriously, I only have about 25-30 slides to go over, and the approximate duration of this webinar would be maybe roughly about 1 hour. Okay, so before we start, I know that some of you will have questions, and make sure to submit them through the chatter. Let me know what you think, what you'd like to know, and I'll do all my best to answer them at the end of the session. In case that you find some of the ideas interesting today, don't hesitate to share them on LinkedIn. Feel free to use our hashtag #OdooWebinars. Also, just for your information, I will be sharing the slides after this presentation. Also, this presentation will be included in your partnership knowledge base, and I actually recommend that you check it out once in a while, since we like to update it with a lot of documentation and information that we think you as partner will find interesting. And then finally, if you like what you learned, if you found it interesting, and you would like to continue the conversation, I highly recommend that you involve your account manager in the next discussion, since you can run maybe perhaps your marketing campaign or maybe your marketing strategy. So there you go. So for today's agenda, first, we will look into why marketing. So why is marketing important for Odoo Partners? Then I suggest that we look at some B2B marketing basics. And then lastly, we will give you some tips, some actionable advice. That way you can start planning your marketing activities. And then we will finish, of course, with a live Q&A session. Okay, so what I really want to talk to you today is actually growth. The B2B marketing that will maximize your growth. And of course, the idea behind this webinar is for you to get some tips on how to be more visible, help you shape that communication so customers want to engage with you, and the idea of making qualification much easier. That way, cold calling and emailing, cold emailing is a bit, something of the past. So perhaps I am biased because I do come from a marketing background, but I am a true believer that marketing is one of the most important roles for a business. And with the right strategy, with the right mindset, marketing, B2B marketing can be the growth engine of your company. However, I will start on a negative note here. Today, marketing efforts are probably one of the most undervalued aspects of many companies. Many companies, many businesses believe that marketing might be just a sales supporting role, or worse, that it is not needed at all. And the truth is that in the digital world of 2021, doing marketing is basically your only way for you to remain visible to your customers to have a voice and really to grow. So, and we actually saw that companies, not all companies, and this is including even Odoo Partners, the ones that did not have enough visibility online, that did not have much content perhaps, actually were the ones that most affected through the pandemic. Because, well, as we know, customers nowadays are very savvy and they want to read content, and when they don't find us online, well, in their eyes, we kind of cease to exist. So imagine this. Actually, believe it or not, people, before contacting us, before calling us, they go through an average of 13 pieces. 13 pieces, and it can be articles, it can be videos, before being ready to even call us back or answering back. So that means that, imagine if you don't have a content strategy, and imagine if you don't have much visibility online. Well, it will be very difficult for a potential customer to want to answer back that cold email of yours, because, well, perhaps they don't know who you are. So, well, actually, we saw that about 68% of Odoo partners don't have a marketing strategy put in place. This means that about 32% of you are the ones who have some kind of marketing strategy put in place. And I'm so sorry to be so blunt, but if you are part of that great majority, you are slowing down your own growth by undervaluing the power of marketing efforts. If you're depending on cold emailing or sending, I don't know, maybe a post once in a while, but you don't have a clear path, well, there you go. So what I suggest is try marketing in the sense that you can see it as a brand, a way to get more brand recognition, that your customers trust you and value more. And don't miss out on the opportunity to get more qualified leads for those Odoo projects with a fraction of the cost and effort that you're putting in today. And while it is no secret that Odoo is an ever-evolving company, and I know we're very far from perfect. However, Odoo has always there to be different, to break some paradigms, and marketing was actually one of them. In the midst of the pandemic, Odoo actually dared to bet on having some content strategy and running campaigns. And overall, during lockdown, Odoo received about 51% more visits compared to the previous period. And as you know, Odoo works very hard on having relevant content online for you, for our customers, and actually unpaid search, so organic search, increased by 23%. And well, since Odoo kept running campaigns, visitors from paid search actually increased by 196%. And well, maybe it has to do with the fact that companies during the pandemic were in need of a powerful tool to digitalize, to make their processes easier. But the truth is that with Odoo not investing in being visible, to being out there, content and running campaigns, probably this growth couldn't have been possible. Actually, on this graph, you will see that the average number of new Odoo customers almost doubled at the end of 2020 compared to 2019. So, well, there you have it. If you need an idea of why it's important to invest in making sure you are visible to your potential customers, well, then look at us. We actually managed to grow about 60% last year, and we continue to grow. So what I'm saying here is, don't be afraid to do some marketing efforts, to invest in your marketing activities, because in the end, it will pay off. Now that we understand the importance of marketing for us as partners, where do we begin? Well, I suggest that we take a step back and we go over some B2B marketing basics. So what is B2B marketing? Well, I would define it as all the efforts that we do from our business towards another company. B2B marketing basically targets the needs, the challenges of individuals who are making purchases on behalf of an organization, of their organization. Thus, the organization becomes a customer. And the B2B customer tends to be a bit more rational. The goal tends to be a bit more related to ROI, efficiency, and gaining expertise. And unlike a B2C client, not much emotion is involved in the decision-making process. And they are more motivated, I would say, by financial incentives and what seems like a less risky option for them in the long term. And for them, a big driver, one of what will influence a lot their decision-making has to do with content and what they read online, what they find out there. So imagine if you don't have that much content available for them. For the B2B customer, content is extremely important. Well, now that we understand who is our B2B customers, and I suggest, why don't we look at the marketing and sales funnel? On the top of the funnel, you will actually see that I labeled it as marketing, since it tends to be more related to marketing department. Marketing, as you know, works on having some content available, running campaigns. Well, the idea, of course, is to spark some interest, that way some potential buyers might leave their contact details, and this is what we call normally a lead. And when our sales department has a call with them or contacts them, well, it turns out that perhaps they meet the criteria of our ideal customer, so we can, start calling it an opportunity. And in fact, if you go on your partner portal, you will see that there is a section for leads and there's a section for opportunities. So I highly recommend that you go on it once in a while to make sure that you qualify those leads. And in the case of official partners, you might get some leads once in a while. So that's why it is important to check them. Remember that leads really come from a marketing effort. And they get assigned through an algorithm, depending, of course, on your partner level, on the ability of the availability, your geographical location, and so on. And in the case of account managers, we kind of do the same thing. We qualify leads, we have demos with them, and when the time comes that perhaps a customer might ask for us for a reference, if we know of a partner that might meet the requirements of the customers, and of course, it might not be every single day, but once in a while, you might receive an opportunity, again, depending on your partner level, on where the customer is located, and of course, also the kind of relationship that you have with your account manager. So again, please note that this kind of benefit is a bit like a cherry on the top or a bonus. This is not a lead generation platform. So in the end, it really comes down to your own marketing and sales efforts to ensure your success. Okay, so as we saw from the last slide, our potential customers go through different stages. And in most cases, except for perhaps an impulse buyer, an individual goes through a journey in an unaware state. This individual might fit the demographics of our ideal customer. However, they might not be aware of our product or whether they need it. And it's important to keep in mind that buyer's persona go through a journey, and understanding this journey will help you communicate much more effectively with them. And it will also help you focus those actions of yours to the ones that are most impactful. So let's talk about adapting your message to the person you have in front of you. It's extremely important. Because if you don't understand where that persona is in relation to the buyer's journey, it might happen that your message will not resonate with them. For example, let's imagine the case of a small retail owner that was badly hit during the pandemic because she had to close her shop. Maybe, during awareness, she knows that her pain is that she's losing sales, that she might be considering to have an e-commerce, but she might not be aware of us as Odoo or as partners. So she needs to decide whether she will prioritize this pain or not. So your role as partner is to establish yourself as an expert on e-commerce, on Odoo, and you can educate her on the consequences of inaction. You can educate her on why it should be a priority. And now that you have managed to capture her attention, you want to guide her into consideration. You can basically use what we call a call to action to create awareness and excitement around your offer. That way you can guide her into the next phase. And when this potential customer, we can call her, let's say, Maria, is in consideration stage, she might be a little familiar with Odoo and maybe even already research us online, and is evaluating the options for an e-commerce and wants to decide whether there's urgency and if she should decide here and now. So as experts of Odoo, you can address how Maria perceives the pros and cons, and you can educate her further on different categories, best practices on the market, version comparisons. You can even send her a report or a guide to help her evaluate. And lastly, during decision stage, where she's trying to choose which partner she can trust the most or which solution, and that seems less risky. So of course, your goal here should help her decide that Odoo and us as partners are the best answer. You can answer her questions to reduce anxiety, personalize that demo, and basically show that Odoo does answer to the requirements of her business. And you can offer something concrete that she can walk away with, like a strategy or a actionable advice in exchange for her time. Great. So now that we spoke about the importance of marketing and we went through some B2B marketing basics, well, let's talk about how can we start defining our marketing strategy. Well, to begin with, a marketing strategy should define or will define what we do according to our goals and our target audience, but it should also define what we don't do. For example, at Odoo, we have an inbound strategy or a pull strategy, and we have clear guidelines on the way we communicate with clients, the type of content we produce, and we have an ROI mindset. We decided that we will not be salesy, that we want to educate, we want to be helpful, we want to be inspiring. And it's important that you decide your own strategy, your own path. But how can we go about deciding where to start? Well, something that I highly recommend that you think about are basically what I would say the 3 pillars of your marketing strategy. One is know your audience. Knowing your audience is probably the most important thing about a strategy. If you don't know your audience, no matter how good your content is, your marketing activities, it might not resonate with them. And I do recommend looking at your customer as imagine what an ideal customer would look like, and we can call it a buyer's persona. So try to think, what industry are they from? What pains do they have? What challenges do they have? Okay, so this is very important. Second, having a detailed and comprehensive action plan is extremely important. One thing is, of course, to know where we want to go, which is our strategy, but another is the steps that we will take in order to get there. Lastly, it is very important to have a realistic overview of our business, the current state of the market. So make sure you have clear KPIs and you can measure your own progress. Because if you don't have clear goals and if you don't measure your own results, well, you risk wasting some precious resources and not knowing what should be optimized and what is working. And well, now that we understand that it's important to measure our own results, well, we can talk about different KPIs. And there are different KPIs that we should be using depending of our buyer's journey. So not every KPI works fine with all stages. For example, during awareness, since a potential buyer is only aware of a pain, you want to measure visibility more than anything else. So don't make the mistake of measuring let's say a social media post or perhaps an event in the number of customers you got. Then during consideration, since content marketing is extremely important because of course they're evaluating, they're researching, they're learning, you want to measure engagement. Like for example, the higher a click-through rate is, it means that the content is relevant, it's interesting, the longer they stay on your website. So this is what you want to measure. And then, of course, when a persona is on the decision stage, when they are ready to convert to customers, this is what you want to measure. You want to focus on how efficient are you in converting those customers, how many leads you got. And then lastly, during the customer stage, you want to measure retention. You want to measure how happy your clients are with you. Are they happy to recommend you? And that sort of thing. And well, now that we looked into what your marketing strategy could look like, let's look at how we can translate this marketing strategy. So we talked about buyer's persona. So we did talk briefly about Maria, that she was a retail owner. So this is an idea of how you can, let's say, translate that strategy and have set up several buyer's persona. So this is just one example, So, we make sure that we know, perhaps her background, the goals, pains, and so on. And I'm not saying that you need to do this for every single customer. Remember, a buyer's persona is a personification of a group of customers or audience, okay? And, well, if we put together all the efforts, all the channels that we need, all the messages, well, here's an example of how your marketing strategy could look like. Again, we break it down into the different stages that Maria will go through. And well, as you can see, you can have the list of content, the different channels that we will use, how we will measure it, and of course, different call to actions that are relevant to help them transition into the next stage. Great, so now that we've spoken about the importance of marketing, we went through some B2B marketing basics and even began shaping our marketing strategy, we've come to the last part of the presentation, which is planning or B2B marketing activities. In the upcoming slides, I will go through a short guide or suggestion of activities to help you kickstart your marketing efforts today. And well, of course, we will use it in reference to where your customer is in the buyer's journey, some recommendations for channels, some types of messages, and well, of course, that we can use during every stage. So how can we attract strangers during awareness phase? Well, this is when our buyer's persona are beginning their journey. And of course, as we already talked about, they are focused on a particular pain. So naturally, the message needs to, it should be about educating, about establishing us as expert of a particular pain point. And we should try to avoid being too salesy or talking too much about us at this point. And well, some channels that are great for creating visibility could be, for example, a webinar, organizing a webinar to discuss one particular topic and industry, or having some tutorial videos on YouTube, or even an article on a company blog, or even running a search campaign on Google. On this chart, you will see a list of activities to get some ideas of that can help you get more visibility and that are recommended through visibility. So you will see that, okay, so there's the activity, where you could be focusing that activity, an idea of a budget, and most importantly, the support that you can get from Odoo. So working together with Odoo through your account manager. So for example, you can get together with account manager to maybe start planning your first company blog, or maybe auditing what you already have or your company website. You can also look at events, events even in the form of webinars, so not physical event, can be a very powerful way for you to get visibility, and that's something that we can do together. So let's take a look at an example of, let's say, an Odoo Experience or an Odoo Roadshow. A person, let's say, okay, maybe Maria will be attracted to that roadshow or that Odoo Experience because maybe they will be talking about a particular pain point that she might have. So let's say you are a sponsoring partner and you're talking about that particular pain point, about, I don't know, let's say e-commerce. So she will listen to you very attentively because, well, of course, she wants to get educated, and well, she will get that call to action to want to know more. So perhaps she will contact Odoo, or perhaps she will contact you directly. Just a quick reminder though, that the KPIs for this kind of events, this kind of activities, should be related to visibility. So don't measure how many customers you got through an event. Measure how many people actually attended that event, or maybe that they went on to check your website following that event. And just some tips here. One great way for you to increase your visibility is, remember, through Odoo, you can connect Google Analytics, and there's a very powerful tool that is SEO. So this way you can basically see on a dashboard all the KPIs that are important for, impressions and so on, that are important for visibility, but also without needing to be an SEO expert, you can increase your ranking, and it's super easy to use because, you can even get some ideas of, keywords that you can use, and you don't have to be thinking of like, oh, well, the HTML and the meta title and whatnot. So, this is something that you could take advantage of. Also, something that I really like, and I've used it a lot in the past when creating content, is if you connect Google Analytics with a Search Console, if you go on a particular landing page, you would actually get what we call the search query. So basically all the keywords, the search queries that people are using to go on that particular landing page. And this is really powerful because basically it are the keywords that have proven to bring a lot of traffic to your website, to your landing page, to your product page. So imagine, this is the kind of keywords that you want to make sure that you use a lot. Again, you can use it to optimize that landing page of yours. That way, of course, Google, since people are interested already and they're clicking on it to read it, if you have it more often in that particular page, well, it would increase your ranking. Also, you can use it as an idea to use your keywords that already we know that work for maybe, I don't know, a campaign, or for messaging for a social media post, because we know that people already are interested in those terms, so why not reuse them? Also, another idea that you can do with this is, perhaps you will see a couple of keywords that pop up, like, I don't know, the top 3 or so on. Well, you can reuse it to maybe plan a new content piece related to that, to those keywords. So just some tips right there. Now, remember that we spoke about visibility in social media. Well, social media and being present online is a great way for you to get visibility, which is very important to have a company profile, or let's say on LinkedIn, on Facebook. But however, I will encourage you to see it as creating a community around it. So it's great to talk about us, and it's great to talk about, I don't know, us getting certified as for Odoo, or I don't know, maybe we had a really interesting achievement as a company. So that's really good. But at the same time, you want to spice it up and you want to alternate the kind of content that you share. So perhaps you can look at what we have as content online for Odoo. You feel free to reuse it. You can even go on the Odoo profile where maybe we share a couple of interesting, testimonials or event. Maybe you can reshare that. And also, if you want some ideas and maybe, maybe you don't have that much time to create content, well, take advantage of Odooers that are very active on social media and that they get a lot of visibility themselves. Like, for example, Fabian Pinnekers. You can even follow your account manager. That way you can get some ideas of activities, to share. And then lastly, there's this really cool feature on LinkedIn that gives you content suggestions. So I encourage you that you use it as well, because, well, the way it works is you get an idea of what is the most popular kind of content, and you can use it, of course, in your network, but also outside of your network. Let's say if we're targeting a particular industry, you can see the kind of content that is the most popular in that particular industry. So this is a great way for us to, well, for one, to reshare evergreen content, but another is to get maybe ideas of a content piece that we can create ourselves. So maybe we can even make it better, even more detail. And a little tip could be like, you could even, once you create that blog, for example, you can even go back on the comments and reshare it. And of course, since those people were interested in that topic anyway, well, that will create visibility and traffic to your website. Just one tip, just one thing is, when you do share something on LinkedIn, on social media, remember to use hashtags, remember to do some tagging, because basically what it does, it increases your reach outside of your network. So people who are not necessarily following you will see your content. Believe it or not, a lot of people do research information through hashtags. And if you want some information on how LinkedIn uses hashtags, well, I did put a link on the presentation so you can read it later. Okay, so how do we engage? How can we qualify through content during consideration phase? Well, now that we've gone through some ideas on how to shape our marketing plan for awareness, we can move to consideration stage. At this phase, potential customers might already be aware about our services and perhaps even Odoo, and they want to evaluate the different options out there and, well, to see what will help them best to solve that particular challenge. So remember to keep the content related to helping them evaluate the urgency, the problem, and ways to solve. So, for example, an idea here is to build that relationship on trust by sharing your experience as Odoo implementer. And, well, some great channels could be perhaps, maybe a report or a comparison between different solutions. Maybe sharing a case study, a testimonial of one of your clients. Or maybe encourage them to try Odoo, because then again, Odoo really can speak by its own when you try it, because it's such a great tool. And here, well, you see again the list of activities that could be recommended for consideration stage. Remember, when we talk about the marketing and sales funnel, during consideration, leads are being converted to opportunities. So you will notice that the activities at this stage are transitioning from marketing and purely visibility to actually the idea of qualifying and treating your pipeline. And on this table, you will find some recommendations at this stage. Again, some ideas of where you can focus on, some budget. And again, as you can see, there's a lot of activities that you can do together with your account manager with Odoo. One of the many activities that you can do together with your AM is actually working on your first LinkedIn campaign. Particularly for new partners, this can be a great tool, so you can do a lead generation campaign, for example. LinkedIn is a platform that is really great for B2B because actually most of the people are on LinkedIn. And this is great for a targeted strategy and really supports an account-based approach, unlike Google Analytics, that is very great for visibility and so on. Doesn't really tell us who those people are. And what is great about LinkedIn, why it's great for consideration, is that we can know exactly where, which industry are they from, which job title they have. So it's much easier to do a targeted campaign here. So great for lead generation. And well, together with your account, you can set up your account manager. You can set up your first campaign. She can give you perhaps some guidance on best practices, maybe even audit your message, or just point you in the right direction. There is actually a document for you on the partnership knowledge base with everything you need to know about ads on LinkedIn. So if you have questions, bring it up to the next meeting with your AM. And well, I know a lot of you really like email. So the good news is doing email campaign is one of the recommended activities for consideration. Also, perhaps retargeting. Then this is because, well, customers are ready to engage and they actually want to talk to us. Just remember that at this stage, doing a mailing campaign should be focusing on helping them evaluate. So make sure that you try to have always a clear call to action about maybe try Odoo for free, get a free consultation, sign up to this exclusive webinar, get a free demo. So it's important to guide them to the next step. However, just keep in mind that email marketing and referrals are only relevant for customers in the consideration stage. So if you didn't do any of the activities that I just mentioned, well, you are actually missing on the opportunity to educate them through content that they, by the time they reach out to you, that maybe through a customer referral that they talk to you, they already know who you are and that they already are interested in working with you. So please don't undervalue the power of Odoo, content and marketing, because really content should be like your best friend. Look at content, look at marketing this way. When you leave for them, let's say an article, or you leave a video for them and that you have a lot of visibility about yourself, people, like we said, they're very savvy, they're very self-taught, so they want to do it on their own. And instead of having to do a lot of cold emails and trying to convince them why they should work with us, well, they already read everything, they already did their homework, and then they're quite convinced that you're interesting as partner and that they trust you. So I don't know about you, but it seems like a much easier approach than having to do the whole, hello there, I am so-and-so. So there you go. So this is how you can stop doing cold emailing. And well, another way, another activity that is highly recommended for consideration is make sure that you worked on your own company description, that you also worked on your company description on social media, but very importantly as well, on the company information on the other website, on Find a Partner. Remember that potential customers are already aware that Odoo exists, that partners exist, and they are researching to find relevant partners to contact. So make sure you spend some time to showcase your expertise, customer reference. You can add videos, images, information, highlight the fact that you're certified. Because believe it or not, and now on average, we get about 23,000 visits a month, and the average duration is about 5 minutes with 30 seconds. So that means that they are reading the description, they are reading your customer reference. So if you don't have any references or your description is not very great, well, it's really bad for you, but maybe it's very great for the partner who did take the time to have a good company description. So I highly recommend it. And well, how can we help, now that we come to the decision, how can we help those potential customers choose during the decision? Well, now that we know that potential buyers are about to choose a partner or a solution, And we can even know that they are qualified leads who are more like an opportunity, and they are happy and ready to talk to us, try a demo, request a code, in order, of course, for them to make their final purchase decision. So at this stage, it's very important that than ever that you basically have content that has one goal in mind. Buyers, basically getting buyers closer to becoming customers. So this is why it's okay to be salesy at this point and create some urgency. So perhaps doing a landing page, like a post-click landing page, to make sure that they schedule a call. Or, this is okay to highlight the fact that we have pricing, that there's a limited time offer discount. And well, as you can see on this chart, these activities for a decision are very one-on-one oriented. And this is because we're trying to help those customers decide, help them ease anxiety. And as you can see here, these are the activities that you can do always together with your account manager. I mean, of course, we're there to help you on your commercial efforts, and we want you to succeed. And we're happy to do demos, and we're happy to talk to the client to help them convince that Odoo is the right choice for them and that you are the right choice for them as well. One idea of something that you can do during this session that you can even do together with your account manager is what you could invite perhaps the opportunities that you have out there, and you can do together, let's say, a webinar to discuss some particular questions, some common questions that they might have, for customers who are deciding, maybe some topics, and maybe you can even bring along a current customer or talk about a customer testimonial. And well, some tips. Remember we spoke about KPIs for decision stage. Remember that in the decision stage, we want to measure conversion. And you can actually measure the conversion rate of customers directly on Odoo. So for example, you can track where that customer came from, I don't know, let's say if it was from a CPC campaign on Google. And if you use the CRM of Odoo, you can even filter it by campaign, and you can even filter it by stage. So for example, if you want to know how many customers on the decision stage, which are negotiation, and how many customers perhaps already are customers, and you want to link them back to campaigns, well, you can see which campaigns were the ones that drove the most traffic. And then lastly, another tip that I will give you is, I know many of you might have the question, well, how can I plan my budget? How can I know how much this is going to cost me? So one tip that I can recommend is, when you are using LinkedIn campaigns, when you're setting up your audience, your segmentation, it will give you basically a forecast of how many impressions you might get, the click-through rate that you can expect, and it can help you get an idea of how much you can invest. And you can even put a bidding, either automatic or optimize it yourself by manual bidding. So at least it gives you an idea of how much you can expect from LinkedIn campaigns. Another really great way that I would use a lot as well when running campaigns for clients is, there's when you go on Google Ads, there's one section that says keyword planning. So keyword planner is really great because basically not all keywords are worth the same. So every different keywords have different prices and so on. And Google already kind of know what it will be the click-through rate and so on, because maybe they're more popular. So this is a great way that you can conduct a little bit like an experiment and so on, and see, okay, so for this campaign, for this ad, how much is it going to cost me? How much click-through rate will I get? And you can even see, okay, how many of those customers most likely would read those ad on an iPad or on a phone and so on. So that's a great tip for budgeting for you. And then, well, we have reached the end of this presentation. I hope it wasn't too long. I really appreciate all of you for taking the time to be here, to taking some time from your busy schedule. So thank you. And well, today we did cover the importance of marketing strategy. We looked into some ideas of, for your marketing strategy, activities. And well, remember, I will share the slides after this session, and they will also be available on your partnership knowledge base. In fact, there's a lot of content, a lot of documentation that you can use for your marketing efforts that are available for you. So I highly recommend that you check it out once in a while. Thank you again so much for taking the time to be here. I know everybody's very busy. I know in some countries today was a public holiday, so I know you're making the effort to be here today, so I want to thank you. Hopefully you found it interesting, and like I said, if you would like to continue the discussion, you can talk to your account manager.